We're live now. Me and Ken,
All
while we're having
right.
a nice
Is it
chat
on
in
the
the
right channel? Is
background.
it on
It's on the right channel this time. And
Let's go.
I did click the wrong one,
Let's
but
go.
I remembered. Music is up. Yeah, it's episode of the Talking Games podcast. I'm here with Ken Wall, as per usual. As you can see by the headline, it's Assassin's Creed, split fiction, and everything else. So we're going to cover a wide range of topics today, including including the impact of GTA on the industry in terms of games moving out. I'm trying to stay away from it, and also how it might or how it will grow the console user base, in particularly the Xbox consoles, if they play the cards right. Ken Wall, tell me, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Clock move forward. That means faster days, and faster days mean warm weather coming soon. So I'm excited. How about you, my brother?
All good. I went to go visit family today, and I have a lot of administration stuff to do. But talking games is is
This is
one
a
of my
therapy.
yeah, it's a therapy. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I'm sure my guys, they might come through on the pod to watch a little bit, and in their eyes, they're thinking to themselves, "Why are you talking about games when you can be playing games?" I've tried to answer this question numerous times, and they just keep shaking their heads, saying, "No, you're a loser." Like, why you do this? So listen, it is what it is. I love talking about games. I love talking about the industry. That's what we're gonna be doing here today. So
Yeah, that's a very good point that you bring that up. Like talking games, I find the industry interesting. Not as like, I'm not saying it trumps playing video games, because that's not possible. Playing video games is fun as fuck, but I really enjoy what's going on behind the scenes. I really like that. I like how seeing the sausage get made.
yeah, no, same here as well. And the first topic of today is It Takes Two. Sorry, Split Fiction. The developers of the previous, not the previous, I think it was 2022's Game of the Year. Or was it 2021?
2022. I believe it was 2022.
2022 Game of the Year. It Takes Two. So Split Fiction has released. We don't have let's say we don't have any sales numbers. However, we do know it's 91 on Metacritic. And the last time a game that was published by EA reached this milestone was Mass Effect 10 years ago. So I think it's quite interesting, or something I find it very interesting, that an EA game that has no microtransactions, that has no multiplayer. Well, it is a multiplayer game, but it's not your typical versus multiplayer game. Was the game to kind of bring EA back to the high caliber review space. It Takes Two. Daniel Camille, I believe his name. He has pointed to the fact that there's some analytics that says that probably 60% of the sales could be from China. So there's a few things there, I think, to take away from this. The first one is, what are your thoughts on the fact that it was Split Fiction, a game that is very user friendly? You buy one copy and you get a digital copy free for your friend to come and join. A game that doesn't have any microtransactions, isn't based on live service, has reached 90 plus Metacritic score.
So because I'm very familiar with these guys, I missed out on one of their games, which was Brothers. I think that's what it was called. I'm not surprised by this at all. And me and you talk all the time about EA. They know when to behave like a business, like they are. They know when to turn that shit on. But after Anthem, I think, to me, they know when to turn it off, meaning that they make products that are going to hit certain markets. So they know not to mess with single player. So they're no longer of the mind of, let's make a single player game, but what if we do microtransactions a part of it. Now they're not going to be necessary. No, they're EA now knows that all right, if we're going to make a single player game, it's going to be a single player game. No more night microtransactions. But if it's a multiplayer game, wait, that we're going back to our true form. So with this whole initiative, they are part of what is it called? EA. It's like EA's Indies. Hazelight is part of that. So they know. With that being said, they know it being an indie, they can't pull that stuff off. They're not gonna. They're not dumb. They understand what they can get away with in video games, what they can charge people, what their product is, and they decided we're not going to do with our indie studios. We don't need to do that. We're going to let them go through, most likely because the indie games don't cost nearly as much as their premier products, like Battlefield, all of that stuff, where they need to get a massive haul from this. So I'm not surprised the success of this game. Each release that they've had has surpassed the previous. So A Way Out, if you played A Way Out, that's where I started. I loved that game. And then It Takes Two was what really put it on the map. Then Split Fiction is them having the spotlight on them, so to speak. So I'm not surprised by this at all. And it's a co-op. It's a co-op, very Nintendo-like game.
Yeah, no, you're spot on there. Because the way this game started, there was never really any chance that you were going to see any live service elements, and it's actually just grown into this beast of a game. That this is probably going to affect EA's financials in a very positive way. These games are probably meant to just register, on a smaller scale on those annual reports. But Split Fiction is going to do crazy numbers, I'm sure. I mean, the previous one did 20 million. What really surprised me, though, is EA saying, okay, you guys want to release a game and you want to give a free copy out to people who want to play this game. That is something where I could see EA saying, well, why? Because every publisher would say, why? The game is good. It's great. It's 91 Metacritic. You giving it for free, parts of it for free isn't going to increase the score. In fact, it's going to hurt sales. But of course, there's I guess not a complaint, but a argument that you could make that, them doing this actually allows more people to play, which is going to spread the word even more. However, I don't know about that, because listen, I'm going to purchase this game and I know somebody else who's going to purchase this game, and the plan was to play together. But hey, due to the free copy system or the shared system, only one of us is going to pay. So I could see EA
provoking it.
Ew, what the fuck is this? What is this ad?
Yeah, I am surprised about they still going, because this is 3 games now that they've had this buddy pass.
Mm-hmm.
And with It Takes Two, with these games becoming more popular, unfortunately, they may have to double back on this. But I think it may be too late. It may be too late, but
it's done. But you said, I think it's good. Joseph is he doesn't doesn't own them, so they could easily go off and find a different publisher if they really wanted to. And EA would like to keep them on the books, I'm sure, because hey, this is a game that's selling well. One thing to really note is that when you look at their games, every single game has improved from a graphics point of view. Which is, I find very interesting, because I know we speak about people managing their costs, but I'm pretty sure we know that a lot of these games have cost issues. People say, hey, just keep the game small. However, I would argue that Split Fiction clearly is more expensive than any of the previous products. I think the argument here, though, will be that, well, we didn't start with we didn't start big. We've been working our way to this. It wasn't like our first game got a £50 million budget. It was small. The scope was managed, and based on that success and the fan base we get garnered from that, we were able to increase the budget and we just kept on doing that over and over again. Hence why split fiction can do well, because once It Takes Two sells over 20 million and people understand who we are and the kind of games we make, it's very much possible for us to then get a bigger budget for split fiction, which is exactly what we did. So that makes a lot of sense to me. But there is another topic that we can that kind of covers this a little bit, which is Rebellion CEO on budget and management. Now, if you don't know who Rebellion is, they're the guys who make Sniper Elite games. I'm a fan. I love those games. I think they're great, but primarily just because of the co-op element. They are making a new game called Atom Fall, which does look good. It looks like they're kind of a mixture between Fallout and Bioshock. So I will be probably checking that out on Game Pass. Why Game Pass and not purchasing it? Well, because it doesn't look like a game that I would actually purchase or a game that I would actually like play. But because it's on Game Pass, it's a game that I'm willing to give a shot.
Yeah, Adam Fall kind of. I was like, this is what Sniper Elite is making. So,
listen, my disappointment with that game so far is just that it's not co-op, which is surprising me a lot, because that is like their bread and butter.
Mm-hmm.
Those sniper games are really fun when you have to play with your friends, and the fact that they would make a new IP and remove the co-op part from it just kind of baffles me somewhat, to be honest. But anyways, the Rebellion CEO on budget and management, he states, it would be incredibly egotistical to just say it was entirely due to our incredible skill as running a company. I think there's always a little bit of luck involved. I think we control our budgets quite carefully. We have substantial budgets in terms of millions and millions of pounds, but we don't have hundreds of millions of pounds. We try to make it that we can make a really good game and it has a very decent chance of making a profit. And that's really what it comes down to. I prefer small, really good game than a really big kind of game that isn't focused down on what's important for the player. We're just very professional with controlling scope and cost. Sometimes we say, guys, this game is too big. When it comes to budgets, are you of the opinion that the industry is going to take an approach similar to Rebellion, where a lot of these games that we expect to come out, we're going to see the budgets reduced significantly? And if we do see the budgets reduced significantly, do you think gamers will adapt to the reduced scope, or would they complain, or are they happy enough to say, yeah, if the game is good, the game is good. I don't need a big, huge open world. I don't need 1,000 planets. I don't need, a 70-hour game like Assassin's Creed. You can keep this shit nice and short and sweet. What's your take?
It's very, to me, it would be a very case by case, because some games are going to be able to, because at the end of the day, it's quality. So some games are going to be able to deliver on that, and then other games aren't. So like, you're going to hear a game that does bad. They're like, oh, we didn't have a big budget. But like, there's other games that didn't have a big budget and they were able to pass. And so I think gamers, like I said, it really all depends, because there's a whole bunch of indie games that gamers love and the budgets aren't high at all. But AAA, there's a whole bunch of AAA games that have bigger budgets, or some are a little bit smaller, but they hate. Like, just because you have a big budget doesn't mean you're gonna like. A lot of gamers will like the game. As a matter of fact, there's many games that have insane budgets that people hate. Every Assassin's Creed game, that's one. Every Assassin's Creed game. So I feel like it would be a case by case basis, but I would like this change, because I think there needs to be more of an understanding of why these games prices are getting like this. It's kind of crazy, especially for AAA. Why are we getting 200 million plus all the time? Like, shouldn't there be a way of keeping the costs down? And also, what gets lumped into the game development is just the workers. That's most of the work. But what I understand the workers, they have to get paid. But what's another factor that's driving up the cost of these games? So I would like to see games go down in price, specifically AAA games, because I want more of them.
And do you think gamers are going to be in a situation where they don't actually mind the reduced quality? So, for example, you buy a 70 euro game, let's say from a Ubisoft, and rather than getting your typical 50 hours of gameplay or 60 hours of gameplay, it's not just 25 or 30, but it's a lot more focused. Do you think, sorry, and also let's say the side activities are a lot less, so there isn't as much to do in the world. It's very tight. Do you think people's reaction to that will be, well, I paid $70, so where's the extra stuff? Or are they going to be happy enough? And are they going to be happy enough, or are they going to backlash?
This is where I go back to case by case. If this is Ubisoft and they did something like that, let's say the new Assassin's Creed, the main story is 20 hours and you can complete everything in 40, right? I think people would really like that. I really believe people would like that. But let's flip it now. Let's do CD Projekt Red. They make a game that's now Cyberpunk you can complete in the main story in 12 hours and you can finish everything in 25 hours. And even though it's a really focused experience, I think a lot of people be going like, we wanted more. So it all depends on who's making the game and if the game demands it. I don't think gamers are going to really care because, first of all, they don't even care most about the budgets. Most gamers don't even be looking that shit up. And even if you did, most of the time, they don't really lay it out there publicly. You don't really have a full exact figure of the budget. So I don't think they would care in that regard. They just care about the product because that is what they paid for. If the product is good, then I don't think you would hear anything about the production saying that, oh, it was worth this much and we only got this, but was it a good game? Yeah. Like I think that's out the window. I don't think they would care.
Okay, I think that's a good point, and a good segue into another talking point, which is the game that we see on screen, South of Midnight. Okay, so in terms of gameplay mechanics and just the general vibe for this game, just from a business standpoint, I've always said that as good as the game looks, I don't think it looks particularly fantastic, like amazing. It doesn't grab my attention like that. I was of the opinion that Xbox should delay this game, not because the game isn't ready, but sorry, let me just grab Matthew's commentary. He says, Creed from the AAA games, if GTA will cost 100 and others might, and many will follow. I think there's truth here in the sense that people will follow. Some people will follow. However, I would say that they are not going to sell copies. GTA is one of the only games that can get away with selling for that much money. I do expect other companies to increase their prices as well. For example, Metaphor is a game that I will pay, full price for if it's 75 or whatever it is. And I think we'll probably say the same thing for maybe Call of Duty games and the Legend of Zelda, Mario. So I do expect prices to go up. However, to 100, oof, all these companies are going to struggle to sell if that's the case. Ken, what's your take?
If most of them would jump it up to 100,
yeah,
you're saying, a lot of them would fail. I don't think there's a lot of companies right now that just don't get the benefit of the doubt like that. You got all right, so you got Rockstar. I would put Activision. Any Call of Duty game, I would give that the stamp of approval to go $100.
Mm-hmm.
CD Projekt Red, No, I think I personally would pay $100, but after what they did with Cyberpunk, I don't think that's fine. I don't think they could do $100 for their game, even though I do think their game, like Cyberpunk, I would argue that it is it's teetering that, and especially with Witcher 4. But I just don't think people would give them that benefit of the doubt where it's like, oh, $100, this shit's gonna be fire. So
Mhm.
I don't think it's a good idea that companies would do it. Like I feel like Ubisoft would try and jump in and go like, yeah, Assassin's Creed is gonna be $100 and it's gonna be 100 hours. Like, no, nah, bro. Like nobody's paying $100 for a Ubisoft game. So
Mhm.
yes, there's gonna be companies that can try and follow suit. Like it'd be interesting if EA would try to do it, because I don't feel like they have a game that can really do that. Madden and their sports games, that's ridiculous. What are you paying for a roster? $100 for a roster update? You got to be kidding me. And then Battlefield is just too inconsistent compared to Call of Duty to
Mhm.
pay for something like that. So it's very few that could follow suit. Yes, there'd be some that would try to follow, but I actually, you know what? Let me change my mind. I don't think big publishers would follow. I'm actually be different. I don't think they would follow. Talking it through now, because they gotta know their product. They have to know their product, and they have to know that we can't charge people like this. And this whole GTA 6 $100 is blown out of proportion. I think a lot of people just read the headline and then that's it, because that's not, a lot of industry analysts aren't really saying that, but that's for another
Mhm.
topic.
I think for me the key thing here will just be a lot of these companies have not built up the rapport with the consumers for them to trust them on these
Yeah,
products, and just the financial reality of video games. Like, they cost a lot of money. $100 is not cheap, and the consumers have not been trained to be paying $100 for these kind of games. You'll have to start off slowly. So you go from 60 to 65 to 70, then to maybe to 75 or to 80. Of course, there's going to be outliers there like GTA, but anybody else who's trying this, just be very, very careful.
yeah,
If you want to get your finances in order and you believe that people are going to purchase your game for $100, and you think when it goes down on sale, the people who didn't buy it will then jump on it, fair enough. But just keep in mind that there's a lot of games out there. The competition is fierce. So, would I choose to buy an Atomic Fall, which is $100 over Dying
yeah,
Light 2? That's 60 or 70, but you've just made my decision easier. That's just it. It's a very
yeah,
easy decision to make with one that's cheaper. So yeah, that's just something to know.
yeah. Like it's rough. It would be really rough. And again, the industry analysts, like I saw this week, Michael Pachter come out and say that it was going to cost, like the headline was, typical, it costs $100. They're thinking it's going to cost $100. But then when you read what he's actually saying, it's the same. What he's been saying is the same way of how games are being sold right now. There's the standard edition, and then there's the pre-order edition. That's what he was saying. A lot of the analysts are saying, yeah, there's going to be the $70 version, but then there's also going to be, the pre-order where it gives you shark cards, and then that's going to be the $100. And because they're going to basically make it an offer you can't refuse. But it's like, come on, bro. Like, most people are going to pay the $70. And anyways, that's not new. That's how most games are sold. There's always that upper echelon edition where it costs like $200 and you get like collectibles and shit like that.
Yeah, no, agreed. I was gonna touch on South of Midnight, and I guess we could touch on it real quick. Man, I thought I had I thought I blocked ads. Like, what the hell is
Yeah,
this?
yeah, yeah.
Like, they keep popping up. So South of Midnight, we'll make this one nice and and short. I was of the opinion that might be in the best interest to maybe delay this game and get the PlayStation and the Nintendo Switch 2 version ready. It'll be interesting if, let's say they actually had a launch Switch 2 version of this game. So the game comes out on Xbox, PC, PlayStation 5, and the Nintendo Switch 2 at the exact same time. I think that will probably do really well for Compulsion. And I feel these smaller games or these smaller studios, like even Ninja Theory, for example, the way that they survive is not by being exclusive to one platform. And if you are going to be exclusive to one platform, then that platform needs to be large, like PlayStation, for example, right? The guys who made Kena, they were able to leverage the user base to actually make sure the game succeeds. With the Xbox side of things, because the platform is a lot smaller, and the return on investment isn't as needed. This is not a game that's going to sell Xbox consoles. This is not a game that's going to sell Game Pass. It's a game where the existing user base will participate in, and the existing user base is just not enough. So,
Yeah.
I guess I'll put it to you then, and even to you, Matthew, in the comment section. Do you think that this is a game that should probably be delayed to ensure that the game releases on all platforms and gives the game the best chance at succeeding?
So South of Midnight is not on all It's it's not.
It's PC, Game Pass, and Xbox.
PC Game Pass and Xbox.
It's not on PlayStation and Nintendo Switch.
PC Game Pass and Xbox. PC Game Pass and Xbox. Okay, so its competitors are gonna be what's that game coming out? The strategy game, Claire Obscure.
Obscure, yes.
I think that's the only game in May. I mean, April, when South of Midnight comes out. To me, it depends on what you're looking for. The success, like how successful does this game need to be? I don't think that this game's budget is insanely high. So I don't think they need to sell a crazy amount. So I don't think I wouldn't delay the game, because it just gets worse if you delay it. You don't know the games that are coming out during the summer. We have Lost Soul Aside. You have Mafia coming out in the summer. There's a few other games going out in the summer. So I think April is the best time for this game to come out, because things are with Split Fiction arriving. I think now it's starting to simmer a little bit, because the next big game is going to be Assassin's Creed Shadows. So then that's when, all right, each month we're going to have a major release. I think South of Midnight, it would be dangerous for it to delay, because the months just they don't become empty. We still don't know when GTA 6 is coming out. So I think South of Midnight being April is a good choice. I don't really think Xbox and this publisher, not publisher, Compulsion Games is wanting this game to sell gangbusters. I think if they sold 1 million or something like that, that would be good. And I know 1 million is a lot. It's a lot, but I don't think it's going to be that crazy, because even if, let's say it was coming out on PlayStation, I don't think people on PlayStation really would care about this game all that much.
Okay, that's a fair point. Matu, if you want to answer the question, just drop it in the comments. So let's move on to another talking point, and that's the GTA effect on the next gen consoles. So in 2024, PlayStation sold 9.5 million PlayStation 5 units. That's the most it's ever sold in a quarter, and its hardware revenue was up 23% year on year. Meanwhile, Xbox was down 29%. In terms of business growth, however, Elliot says that this doesn't entirely matter, because profit is all that's really key here. Now, GTA is supposed to be the game that's supposed to usher in new console users, People from PS4s will move on to PS5s, and even casual gamers will start buying the PlayStation, start buying consoles just to play GTA. The Xbox Series S being the cheapest next gen consoles is a huge advantage here, as people are not looking to spend $500 or $550, I should say, just to play one game. Canwall, how is the Series S going to fare in this situation? Or do you believe that the marketing that PlayStation will probably have is going to hinder any potential growth sales for the Series S?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to hinder it at all. I don't think Series S is a viable option to many people because of how mainstream the PlayStation is now. It kind of reminds me of the iPhone in the States. The Samsung is less expensive. There's real competition with the Samsung phones, but because of how mainstream the iPhone is, and of course due to other stuff, people just default to iPhone. iPhone is the default when you think of a phone, when you think about purchasing a phone here. When someone says they purchase a Samsung, you're kind of like, whoa, all right, you want to be different. that's the type of energy you're met with. So I don't think
It's like, whoa, look at this guy over here, bro.
Look at this guy. So I don't think the Series S is really going to factor in. I don't think people would really give a shit when they come from. I think most people who haven't upgraded, they're on PlayStation 4, not the Xbox One. You know what I mean? That's the I don't see someone going from the PlayStation 4 to the Xbox Series S because of GTA 6. That's just like that doesn't make sense because they're familiar with PlayStation.
Yeah, PlayStation seems to have the market share by default. 2024 pretty much stated that because Sony didn't have any big blockbuster games. But listen, they sold the most PlayStation 5s ever, which just shows that like when people want a console, they default to PlayStation. That's just what it is, and that's something that Xbox is probably known for some time now, and they know they can't compete on their worst day, their worst year. We have to be extremely and ultra perfect to even gain something. And you know, PlayStation is not a company that's always going to have their worst year. That's just it. You're not competing with somebody who's making mistakes or dropping the ball. You're competing with someone who's extremely aggressive, who seems like their goal is to wipe you out, or wipe out of the business industry.
Even when you're down, bro. Like the rep is counting to 10, and they still throwing shots at you.
Exactly. Like Sony has all these games coming out, and they still hit up publishers and developers being like, "Hey, do you want to do a time exclusive with us?" And it's like Xbox is like, "Bro, you already have the market share. You already have the casual audience. Like, why are you trying to like destroy?" But you know, Sony doesn't really give a shit. Which will actually bring us to the next talking point, and it's two of them. One of them is Forza, arriving on PlayStation, and I think this is a very interesting point to note. Right now, if you were to ask many people, you know, what is the biggest racing game out there in the world, it's probably between Gran Turismo and Forza. I think Forza's kind of staked its claim as probably the best, or the most like the best from a quality perspective, and Xbox put in Forza on PlayStation is an interesting play. Do you think that something like this happening would actually affect Gran Turismo sales in a sense? And do you think that because Gran Turismo is actually a franchise that sells well on PlayStation, and there isn't really a massive competitor on that platform, that we can expect we can expect Forza games to sell extremely well, and maybe in the future, when it comes day in dates, so we're talking Forza Horizon 6, for example, right? Do you think it's going to sell more on PlayStation than on Xbox?
Oh, this is interesting because I was watching a podcast just talking about Forza coming over, and this is one of the points that came up in my head. I don't know if this is a good idea. Uh, Having Forza and Gran Turismo, because I'm not a racing game. I've heard a lot of people like Forza more than Gran Turismo, because Forza kind of it's not as they have Forza Horizon, then they have Forza Motorsport. Forza Motorsport is more closer to Gran Turismo, where
Hmm.
it's a simulator, and then Horizon is more fun. It's like a more fun, play with your friends kind of game. So, with that being said, I'm like, it's a little. I don't know, especially because what we just talked about, PlayStation, very territorial. I actually do agree with the mindset that this can take over some of the pie between Gran Turismo and Forza, because if a product is quality, it is always going to do well, especially in video games. If the product is good, nobody will give a shit. So if when Forza comes out, I want to see the reaction from racing fans, because of course, that's what's going to matter at the end. I believe if Forza really is the truth that people have been saying, then PlayStation should be a little bit worried. But how much do they have to really be worried about? Because they need, they're still taking a share from it. So, yeah, I can see that outcome happening where Forza and Gran Turismo are competing with each other.
Okay. Matthew says, I think Forza sells more and GT Gran Turismo is more for older people. Like I played Gran Turismo 2 on PlayStation 1 a lot of, even though I am not into racing games. Yeah, it seems Gran Turismo has that kind of casual kind of vibe, but Forza seems more fun, as you said. It's more of a fun, it's not really a simulator kind of game, right? It's just a
Yeah.
fun racing game. So I do think it's gonna do well on PlayStation. I mean, sure, Sea of Thieves did well enough. I
Wait,
think
but
Go ahead.
does Forza sell more than Gran Turismo?
From what I remember, the last Forza games was selling more. I don't think we have sales of the last Gran Turismo game.
More GT or Forza.
Yo, the Ken was using AI.
Yeah, I gotta do it, bro. I have to. All right, let's see what
I
it
look
says.
forward to the answer.
What sells more? Oh crap!
I think it's gonna be hard because
Yeah.
Forza has Game Pass, and that's gonna obviously skew the numbers a lot.
All right, so this is just the worldwide, and this is just like the whole series overall. So Gran Turismo, it says, has sold 85 million, while Forza has sold approximately 16 million. And I don't know, 16, yeah, 16 million
16,
copies.
okay.
And I don't know if they're just counting Forza Motorsport or are they factoring both? Let me ask it. Are you counting Forza? Let's see what it says. Because I'm like, if Forza's been a while for a long time. Yeah, it counted. Yeah, 16 million, approximately 16 million. So, damn, I didn't know Gran Turismo is this pop. Holy shit, that's a lot.
Yeah, that Gran Turismo is huge.
Gran Turismo is huge.
But the question is, I think it's really interesting that with PlayStation taking over the market share from a console perspective, are we going to be in a situation where a game like Halo Infinite 2, whenever that comes out, or a game like even State of Decay, or even, and we're going to talk about this game as well, Fable, are we in a situation where Fable sells more on PlayStation than on Xbox? Because right now, I mean, we could just jump right into it. And Fable has been delayed from 2025 to 2026. Now, Xbox hasn't released the actual month or the season that's going to come out in, which I would say, well done, because I'm tired of you guys dropping these, hey, winter or summer or whatever it is, and then you end up delaying it again. It just seems incompetent. However, The question now is, why did this game get delayed? And there are a few theories out there. The first theory is just that the game needed more time, so they wanted to push it back. The second theory is that, well, they have too much games coming out this year, and at the same time, GTA is in the same time slot as Fable, so it's just safer to push Fable outwards as opposed to releasing it close to GTA. And the third reason is because they wanted this game to drop day and date with PlayStation. An example of this could be Indiana Jones when it released on Xbox, and it's supposed to, in 3 months' time, it will be arriving on PlayStation. However, maybe Microsoft has seen the data, and the data says that, listen, doing this doesn't really make sense. Based on the marketing hype, it would have been better if we actually released this game on PlayStation and Xbox, PC, and Game Pass all at the same time. That way we can leverage the marketing for all platforms easier and better, which would give us overall better revenue. Because now it's going to come out in 3 months' time on PlayStation, and what do? Do we give new marketing? Do we spend a new budget on it? Like, why would we waste money when we can just have it all done at the same time? So these are some of the theories that's going around. Matthew and Kenwell, you guys let me know. What do you think? Why do you think this game was delayed? Is it any of the 3 points I mentioned, other points, or is it a combination of all the points I mentioned?
Yo, you hit it. I think it's a combination of all the points.
Mm.
I'm gonna specifically focus on the point of launching it with the PlayStation 5. I'm gonna be a little bit of a hater on Xbox, but is Fable moving consoles like that? Like, is that really, like, let's say they are going to release it exclusively for the Xbox, knowing that most people aren't going to buy it, right? Most people are not going to buy it. PC, what do PC players really, what really brings them onto Fable? Nothing. Unless, again, if you know, that's what Fable is, and it's not that well regarded. To me, it's a cult classic, but not like a high tier cult classic, if you know what I mean. So I think Xbox knows they've changed their whole position. They have to focus on selling the games and getting a profit from them. So that's why I'm focusing on this point that they probably had to delay it, because when this game was being made, it was with Xbox Series only in mind. But now that the change probably happened halfway / later half of the development of the game. So they needed more time to make a PlayStation version of the game. And probably PlayStation wasn't lending out their kits to Xbox. So they probably got those kits late, and they had to delay the game, because I don't think this game would fare well exclusively right now. I don't think Fable is going to be something that is going to make a whole bunch of Xbox players buy the game. Maybe Game Pass, but Game Pass isn't generating that much money for them. So yeah, I think that's why it's more of a necessity kind of thing.
And on that, I would somewhat agree. I think it's just gone to the point where as soon as you start putting your games on other platforms, and as soon as you start to those games have to sell well on other platforms, it becomes harder and harder to justify going for a timed exclusive approach. The example of this is also PlayStation, right? They started putting their games on PC, and you started to see that it was a 3-year time slot, and then it became 2 years, and now it's 1 year. And we're not talking about 1 year when it's one of their old school games. We're talking 1 year with Spider-Man 2, which means that they're even seeing that it makes less and less sense to actually make it a timed exclusive. And at some point we're probably going to see PlayStation drop games day and date.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a combination of all three. And Matthew says Fable has been, sorry, there's something wrong here.
Fable. Oh, let me check. What did he say? Fable has been Microsoft exclusive. First games was the GOAT.
My
Second was
system is
okay.
like frozen, so I can't even.
I think they will not sell it on PlayStation, PC, and Xbox. But hey, never say never.
Yeah, so Fable has been a Microsoft exclusive. Fable first games was the GOAT, second was okay, and I love the third. I think they will not sell it on PlayStation, PC, and Xbox, but hey, never say never. Oh, I think it's going, bro. I think it's going.
I definitely think it's going.
It's definitely going.
They said E-Day was going. I'm like, whoa, holy shit! E-Day is coming to the PlayStation 5?
When the CEO refuses to say it's not going, you know it's going.
That's crazy.
Like that's an easy one to say. Like, hey, are your like legacy legendary franchises going to go over to the other consoles? And his response is like, I'm not going to answer that question. It's like, okay, thank you for confirming.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such an easy thing to say, but the fact that he chose not to say it just pretty much shows you exactly what's going on. But listen, let's move on to another talking point, which is Sega. So Sega, first of all, has promised fewer games but deeper investments in Sonic, Atlas, and Like a Dragon titles. And good news for them is that Sega has also dethroned Capcom as the best publisher of 2024. So their score is 82.9. And Capcom is in second place with 82.1. Then we have Sony in fourth place, and we have Square Enix in sixth place, and Microsoft in ninth place. Cool. So, Kenwal, what do you attribute to the success of Sega being the best publisher of 2024? And do you think they can maintain this momentum? And, not to make this into a regional situation, but we do have a lot of Eastern developers, in the top 10. What's your take?
1 second. Give me 1 second. I just want to prove what I'm about to say.
No worries. Matthew, what are your thoughts on this? On Sega being the best publisher of 2024? They've climbed up from ninth place. Capcom is in second place, and last year they were in first place.
Okay, so I believe, to me, one of the things that has really helped Sega, because it's just been such a consistent product, is Yakuza. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like there's a new Yakuza game in the works or always releasing. This year, they had Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. The prior year, they had Like a Dragon Ishin. And that was the Feudal Japan one. And I think, what was the one what was the spy one? You know what I mean? He was like a spy.
I think I know the game you're talking about. Yes, Judgment.
Yeah, like they're just always releasing these Yakuza games. Like they're just always putting them out, and then they come out in such high regard every single time. So when you're having that consistency, I feel like they've really got it down packed with the Yakuza. Mm-hmm. And just everything about it has just been, to me, it's been carrying. Because Sonic, the last Sonic game was Frontiers. I think that was 2022. And that was okay. It wasn't bad by any means, but it wasn't something that everybody loved. But these Yakuza games are the opposite. And when they come out, they have a really tight following that every time it's getting louder and louder and louder. So to me, I think it's Yakuza that's to blame for all this.
Yeah, I think Yakuza consistency has been key, and just releasing products that are not seen as broken and high quality. And the truth of the matter is, Sega and Capcom were not always seen as the best publishers, but it wasn't a case of one game or two games or three games doing really well. It was a statement, a groundwork of, let's release quality games. Let's focus on this element. Let's delay games when we don't need to release them. And I think that has kind of bared fruits over the last couple of years. Even a company like Microsoft, the only way you get to become the best publisher is by making sure you release quality games, by having the right systems in place, by having someone like Yoshida in place who says, no,
Yeah.
we're not going to drop this game. But you can't drop a game like Minecraft Legends, a game like Redfall. You can't drop a DLC like Starfield, Shadow
Halo
Space. That is
Infinite.
okay. You can't keep dropping these kind of products that are kind of okay. Then you drop good products here and there. You can't drop a Stalker 2 that is broken. You can't drop a flight simulator that ends up broken on launch day. Like these are the things that will prevent you from ever reaching like the best publisher. And yeah, you can get it maybe one or two times, but the key thing here is, Capcom had it first last year. You fast forward to 2024. Sorry, they had it in 2023, and then fast forward to 2024, they're in for second place. That's them showing some level of consistency. Square Enix, they were in 19th, they've climbed up to 6th, and because they're not consistent, I think they might just go down straight away in the next year or so. But yeah, the key thing here is consistency and quality good games. But listen, let's move on to BioWare. So, one of the BioWare ex developers made a comment about how working with EA is not as maybe as crazy as some people might think it is. His name was Zikok, I believe, and he said, "I like to comment that EA gives you enough rope to hang yourself." And what I mean by that is you have to learn to work within the structure, and I think we did quite well. If you look at the Mass Effect trilogy that came out there, it was actually a pretty successful run. But you have to understand how to work within a big company. And for me, that was the end. It was like, oh, I don't like big companies. So I knew by year 2 that I was going to leave at some point. I just didn't know them. And the key thing I want to focus here is when he says, I like to comment that that EA gives you enough rope to hang yourself. This is a statement that I've heard before where basically it's people saying EA is not like a bad company to work with per se. However, they give you enough freedom and they don't really get too much involved in the management side of things as long as you tick maybe certain boxes, but you pretty much have the free reign to do whatever you want to do. And if you screw up, you go. So when I think about this statement, I think of Dragon Age Veilguard. That this is EA didn't sign off on this. They didn't say don't make it like Baldur's Gate. They didn't say don't talk about certain topics. Do what you want to do. If you want to make the characters look very goofy, go ahead, bro. If you want to make it more Disney like, go ahead, bro. If you want to talk about topics and not execute them well, go ahead, bro. Because you could have told EA, well, we want to make it like Baldur's Gate 3, and they would have said, yeah, sure. But instead, you decided to make it something different, and that completely backfired, unfortunately. This also reminds me of Warner Brothers to an extent. Now, I think it's a little bit different here, but but with Warner Brothers, clearly what was happening there was management wasn't focusing on.
They don't know what they're doing. The top is
yeah. The top is they don't know what they're doing. I think this is when you just need a good CEO who actually runs a company. So for example, a game like Veilguard again, if the person in charge of that studio, aka BioWare, was maybe competent, you probably have a situation where Veilguard is a success. But because the person who was running it clearly didn't know what they were doing, or they didn't know how to communicate with the fan base, the game ended up not being what it was supposed to be. But anyways, I just want you to comment on that phrase when he says EA gives you enough rope to hang yourself. Do you think management needs to be a lot more involved in the creation of these new IPs, or do you like the idea that they actually let the developers create their own products and fail at their own succeed or fail at their own accord?
Yeah, to me I don't agree with it, actually, because there's actually a safe middle ground. So a lot of gamers go like, yeah, the developers, let them free, but then look at Xbox when they were doing that. Like, a whole bunch of games were getting delayed, whole bunch of there has to be a structure to it. The problem is it's who you hire that is overseeing these projects. PlayStation, they have a very good system of hiring people that can oversee these projects. Nintendo has a lot of stories where the executives, the C-suite people, are going like, nah, this is not in the game. We need to, because they know what they're doing in terms of the business and creatively with the game. They know what's going to work with this game in order to sell it. And what happens? It's successful. So I do think EA needs to find that middle ground. No, you shouldn't be coming in and tampering with the ideas. It's just the execution. With Veilguard, like you were saying, I stayed away from a lot of Veilguard stuff until it just got to a point where like a lot of the podcasts I was watching were bringing it up. So I was like, all right, let me check out a cutscene. And I saw that non-binary cutscene, and I'm like, you had to like. So I know you guys sat down when you were reviewing the game, and none of y'all thought this doesn't make sense to the story. It's not that we can't do that. It's not that we can't touch upon social commentary. It's just the way, it's the execution. So that's what you need. You need managers, project managers, whatever you name, that know how to manage the product without being too handsy. There's a difference between that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, no, I agree, and this is where management probably should have done something. But it's also very tricky because management might have felt the same way about the original Mass Effect games. When back in the 2010s or so, where when BioWare was becoming more liberal with some of their talking points and the depiction of LGBTQ characters and sexual scenes between lesbians and gay people. EA would have been like, get this shit out of here, but they trusted them. I think that's where the problem probably lies, that the industry now is a lot more varied, a lot more wide, with different people with different opinions and views. And because they want to touch on certain commentary, they necessarily don't have the skill to do it. And that's why I think you need good management, like you said, to actually come in and say, you know what, let's take a step back and make sure we're doing this right. I think what developers now should be doing, and I hope this is something that they take forward, is that start to bring in people early on to screen test your game, to screen test talking points. That could be gameplay mechanics, that could be story points, that could be anything really. And once you do that, you have an idea, what might work and what might not work. Because what seems to be happening, that there's a bit of an isolation part of it, where it's like, okay, well, we want to make a product, and this product is going to come out in 5 years, and we're going to start showing it off in the fourth chair. But in between that time, you've already worked on it, and you can't change it. You're cutting large parts of the game at this point. So if you bring in people at the very start to review the product, you might not end up in this situation. And I'm hoping that BioWare takes that feedback into Mass Effect.
Yeah, like, because I 100% agree with that. Like, especially when it comes to the story, because I know it's kind of hard sometimes. They used to say that the story would get created for games like halfway, but I think that's completely changed. It's probably there from the beginning. So I know I fucking hate using it, but like the woke era, they really needed somebody. Just you did need almost like an opposite-minded person who kind of didn't get it, to kind of have that banter so that you guys could meet in the middle and come up with a better execution. Because that, like I said, that scene, that non-binary scene, just made it was poor. It was just so bad. I was like, wait, y'all, like, you greenlit this? Did somebody just greenlit this? I'm like, damn, you really didn't know what you were doing. It seems like a mockery. Like, I get you were trying to highlight something, but because of how bad the execution was, it felt like you were mocking it, like it was a joke. when I knew that's not the intention.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that you haven't spoken about this, like made a video on it. On
Yeah,
your,
I
you know,
want to. I definitely want to.
you should have even clipped this and just like,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
upload it to your channel. So 'cause I was like, oh, look at him, he's going his rant. He just called it Dragon Age Veilguard rant,
Dragon Age
non-binary or
Railgun.
something. Yeah, I'm aware you gotta bounce soon, so maybe we have time for one more topic, and it'll be a quick one. It's
Oh,
Call of
we're not
Duty.
doing the
Which
okay,
one?
all right. The Gears one.
Oh, the Gears one. I didn't have it down in the notes. Do you have any?
No, no,
topic?
no. You go. Let's go. Let's go with the original one.
Call of Duty.
Yeah. I don't want to mess anything up. Yeah. Let's.
No. I mean, we could do any topic. I don't really mind.
Okay.
This one,
Well.
yeah, go for Gears. Go for Gears.
Okay. So yeah, Gears. There's there's a rumor. It hasn't been confirmed, but Jez Corden did say that the Gears collection that's coming to the PlayStation, what they say, like around May, springtime. It's not going to have multiplayer.
Oh yes,
it's going to have co-op, but not multiplayer. And so Ty hit me up, and he was like, "Yo, ponder why, speculate why multiplayer is not going to be on the PlayStation 5 version." Because the Gears collection, apparently the servers are still up for those games, and you can play multiplayer. So, to me, I actually think it's just not. To me, I just don't think Gears is that game Xbox wants to put out in terms of. Because, all right, there's Gears 2 multiplayer, Gears 3 multiplayer. So you would have those two games having a multiplayer, and then you have Gears of War E-Day that will most likely have a multiplayer. So, like, why don't you just wait? I think the thinking is more like, let's just wait for E-Day to drop the multiplayer and then just give them what most Gears fans know Gears for. Yes, I know it has a cult following of multiplayer, but let's be honest, it's mostly known for Horde and the campaign. The campaign, Horde. Oh shoot.
Sorry about that. You
No,
think we're only gonna see the campaign on Horde mode?
Yes, I think we are.
And you think the reason why is because Xbox doesn't want they don't think that the PlayStation fan base are interested in a multiplayer game like Gears of War. They're interested in a campaign mode, but not necessarily in the multiplayer side of things.
Yeah, I think they're more interested in the campaign mode, and they're waiting. I think they're waiting for everybody to just be on one game, which is going to be E-Day. So then, so that way they don't have to set up cross-play. There's a lot more work when it comes to the multiplayer component when it's just a collection. Why would you do that instead of just let's go all out with this when it comes to the newest release, which is E-Day?
So I think we're all on the same opinion. Here's a question for you though. Do you think E-Day's multiplayer is going to be like Halo Infinite's, aka free to play?
Oh.
Because if you think about it, if you go down the Halo Infinite route, it probably doesn't make much sense to make a multiplayer game for Gears of 1, 2, and 3 or whatever, right? Because you want everybody to focus on E-Day. That's the one that's going to be live service. That's the one where you're going to be able to buy skins and charge people crazy amounts for different guns, different armor types. In fact, I would argue that the Gears of War universe is ripe for actually live servers, because there's a lot more customizable clothes and outfits that you can put on your character because it's in a third person game. The guns are so customizable. You can add a chainsaw here, you can do this there, you can add two chainsaws, you can add all these kind of clips there, you can design your guns, you can have your characters looking like a male or female, and they look like male or female because you don't have this big ass armor on them covering their face and stuff. So from a customizing point of view, it's actually quite similar to Call of Duty. And that's going to make a lot of money. So you can just do that, make it free to play, and have the PC, Nintendo Switch potentially, Nintendo Switch 2, Xbox, and PC players all in the live service. And if you're going to do this, it's probably better to say, you know what did we learn from Halo Infinite? But what we learned is we might have a good product, but if we don't have the live service content, it's not going to work. So let's all start focusing on the Gears of War E-Day multiplayer section. And when it comes to DLCs, we already have a backdrop of Gears of War 1, 2, and 3 multiplayer maps that we can just drop when we want, just remaster them in a remake like fashion, and then that could just add to the content. So when gamers are crying, where's the content? Where's the content? Here you go, guys. Here's Gears of War 3 maps. Oh, you're crying again. Here are some of the guns from Gears of War 2, etc., etc., etc. That would be my take, and I think that's probably quite similar to yours.
Yeah. Yeah, yours is a lot more fleshed out. But yeah, it makes. I just don't think it would make sense to set up a multiplayer for Gears 2 and 3 when it's that old and you have a new game coming out.
Yeah.
I never thought about Gears of War E-Day having a platform, which is the multiplayer. Like I never thought about that. I'm still used to the $70 package, campaign, horror mode, and then you have the multiplayer. But because now that they're selling their games on PlayStation, it definitely makes more sense that they create a Gears of War separate free to play. So yeah, I never thought about that. So that's probably what they're doing, because their Gears, as of recently, Gears 4 and 5, the campaign hasn't really been that long. The other modes are way more fleshed out compared to the campaigns. So that would make sense. That would make sense.
Yeah. I guess we agree. It's funny because I do have some more talking points on the Assassin's Creed leak, on the Pokemon Legends announcements, on Dragon Age coming to PlayStation Plus, and the Monster Hunter Wilds review and reception. I know you got to bounce, so I guess we could probably do these topics next week if you're still interested. But you never know. News might happen next week. Xbox might do something as they always do, and then we might just talk about that instead. Yeah. Hey, listen, man. You say you're making your content and plug your stuff, and let us know, what are you working on?
Yo, you can find me on YouTube and TikTok at Kenwall, and I got a GTA 6 and crypto video that I'm working on. So that's gonna be a lot of fun. And I am about finished. I'm putting the final touches on my book about Xbox purchasing Activision Blizzard. So stay tuned at Kenwall, YouTube, TikTok.
Wait, hold on. I know you mentioned the book stuff before. Like for real. It's like, are you gonna publish it on Amazon, or is it like?
So it's gonna be it's gonna be ebook. It's gonna be ebook. That's it. Yeah. So I'm gonna publish it on Amazon, and like, if I do sell it right, I'm gonna sell it like for like a cheap price or something like that. Yeah, it's
good luck with that.
I kind of I want it to primarily help the exposure of my channel. And I do, at the end of the day, because I like doing it, and I never really thought of it as work. But like, I was talking to my brothers, and they were like, yeah, well, you did put in a lot of time, so you shouldn't not sell it. So I want to find a good price for people to get put in, so people can like easily access the book, because that's the most important thing. I want people to access the book, because then it's like, oh, okay, he wrote this, even though it's AI generated. Well, like, it still took a lot of time. Let me go check out his channel. So like, it's a way to get people to my channel. So that's what I'm trying to figure out right now.
Sorry about that. Okay, that sounds good, man. I'm looking
Yeah,
forward
man.
to listening to. I mean, reading the book, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yo,
I
actually,
hopefully,
if you don't mind, I can send you a draft. I can
yeah,
send
sure,
you a draft. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Any
please
kind of
do.
thoughts? Any kind of thoughts, bro?
Yeah, listen, send it whenever, and I'll give you the feedback.
Yes, sir.
Um, to my two, thank you for watching. If you're still there, and hopefully I'll see you guys next week. Ciao, out.
All right, Ty, my
Peace.
guy. Always a pleasure, man. Be safe. Take care.
You
Talk to you
too, bro.
next week.
Ciao now.